Good evening, B's, G's, NB's, Peens, Vagines, and in-betweens. I am Charles. Welcome to WILIscredia. Welcome back to yet another in the long, nearly 10-episode long series of reacting to people having strong issues with the Red Letter Media Plinkett videos from 2009. Nearly 20 years old, these Plinkett reviews are, and new content keeps coming out where people are having issue. I don't think, at least I would hope, that people who are making these videos don't have issue with like Red Letter Media and what it is that they're doing or saying, because in the end it's satirical. I really hope people understand that and realize that. But I think the main issue is people that quote the Plinkett videos as if like that is the thing that is the thing that's to be quoted when giving reasons for not liking the prequels, which fair enough. But I would say that, like in the US, how people talk about the news and they'll cite their source as The Daily Show. The Daily Show is a comedy show. It's satire, but there is some sort of actual news, some sort of truth in what The Daily Show does. So I guess it all depends on who's giving what argument and why they're using the Plinkett videos as their main reason. Being online and on YouTube, saying things like, these videos shouldn't be that big a deal, kind of defeats the purpose of what we're doing here. So, you know what? If you're going to take these videos too seriously, I guess there's plenty of this content to make. But this is the third part from a relatively new YouTuber who's tripled their subscriber count since the first two videos that we watched. So there is a market. There is a market in I don't know if you would call it prequel apologia or what, like this rebellion against the Plinkett videos, which again, the Plinkett videos, like Chris Stuckman wasn't a YouTuber when the Plinkett videos came out. Yeah, movie YouTube was not anything close to what it is now back then. So I think it's being a little ignorant of the situation. I mean, YouTube, you could only upload, what was it, 10 minutes at a time at that point? What's going on, Fourth Jordan? Good to see you. So I don't know. The last video that we watched of H.J. Moberg is the content creator's name. It got a little in the weeds about politics and the issue with talking about like modern politics with a 17-year-old video is how are the writers and content creators from 2009 supposed to know that? I mean, shit, even if you were to judge that in 2016, Obama was president, and he was reelected in 2012. So judging that series of videos based on like today's stuff is incredibly unfair. But I really don't like it to get to that, because sure, there's politics in Star Wars. Lucas has said that the original trilogy, he really wanted to have a Vietnam, and the dark side, or excuse me, the Empire is probably not the people Americans would like to think it is. But yeah, that's all well and good, and there's huge problems with Bush and the Iraq War in the 2000s. But Phantom Menace came out in '99. You had 1, 2. I don't know if 9/11 happened before episode 2, but the prequels were well underway before we had any sort of heavy duty war stuff going on. So it kind of muddies the water here because, again, I would argue that the Red Letter Media Plinkett videos are satire. They're comedy first, and objective criticism, I wouldn't even say second. I think, again, I've said this before, that, when you're telling jokes and you're trying to make people laugh, there's plenty of contrivance to get the joke. A laugh line is the most important thing if you're doing something satirical. That's why people, when you judge like comedy movies, the story really isn't as important as it would be for a drama. If you laugh a bunch during a comedy, you don't really, you'll push the lack of a story to the side, because the most important thing to you is laughs. And the same thing for horror. If the story isn't that great, but you were scared a bunch, that is like the most important issue for a lot of people. So I don't know if it's a lack of appreciation for the satirical stuff, if it's dealing with people that have worded their arguments against the prequels and using they're citing Plinkett references that, like, I get it, but I don't think Red Letter Media would tell you that it was a objective film review first. But what do I know? I mean, I'm sure they definitely wanted to be as straightforward and honest as possible with their scenes of a woman tied up in the basement. That definitely has a lot to do with George Lucas. Without further ado, it's part 3, H.J. Moberg versus Plinkett.
Part 3.
Shit just got real.
Here we go!
It's hard to stomach any more of this shit.
I put this clip here just to remind you
I really should have refreshed myself on the last thing.
that Samuel L. Jackson is in this movie. Mr. Plinkett forgets about that, but has a rather peculiar rant about him being in Star Wars for his review of Episode 2. Jackson seems to be a nice guy, and he seems stoked to be here, and I'm glad he was. Anyways, back to the train wreck.
Wait, but what was Samuel L. Jackson in Episode 1? I think him not referencing Samuel L. Jackson in the first one is part of how memorable his character was. I mean, I would say Episodes 1 and 2, he wasn't that memorable. You're bringing in Samuel L. Jackson, who was known for things that weren't sitting on a panel and being calm and cool. So, like, you waste his appeal putting him in this movie where he's just really kind of quiet and chill. I don't think in Episode 1, at the very least, he didn't really have much to do in that movie. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, not bringing it up. I mean, he probably could have taken the fact that Samuel L. Jackson, I guess he does in the second one, but we're talking about the first one, aren't we?
Here we get to hear Stoklasa try to wrap his head around the plot.
How does killing the Jedi or creating a communications blackout on the planet even get word back to the Senate that there is a crisis?
How could Palpatine possibly have counted on the Jedi surviving and the word getting out from Naboo? Or that Padme would go back to Naboo? I mean, his plan is that a naive young queen would propose a vote for no confidence, right?
How about no?
I don't think that was his plan at all. I think his plan was to create this crisis to shake up the Senate and use that to advance himself politically, as we discussed in the last video. I don't think he planned for Amidala to reach Coruscant at all, but it would further him faster than if he only shook the foundations of the democracy. Do you know what that is? It's a society where you have nothing to say until you put a piece of paper in a box and it changes nothing.
Huh? What?
Oh, so we're going to be heavy on the politics again. The fact that there's confusion on Palpatine's intent is an issue. It's a storytelling issue if there's not a clear intent or a clear motive for doing something. That's kind of an issue, especially considering it's Episode 1. Yes, technically it's the fourth movie in the franchise, but let's say you're a kid and your first experience with Star Wars is Episode 1. Does this movie really bring you into the world well enough where you're getting caught up in what this dude's motives are? And oh, by the way, there's a bunch of politics and arguing in a giant circular courthouse. Does that like really sound like it grabs you? If you're watching this first, would you stay and watch the entire thing? If you saw this one, even half an hour or an hour of this, would you be like, oh yeah, I need to watch all 6 of these movies or all 9 of these movies now? I think the fact that there's confusion about the villain's motive is kind of concerning.
This almost sounds like the Phantom Menace. Is this movie about how easy it is for fascists to take over a democracy if we don't safeguard it? If Chancellor Valorum never sent the ambassadors?
Okay, so yeah, if that is the claim, then shouldn't there be more safeguards or more exploration in that idea in Episode 1? Because if you want it to be about how fascism can rise in a galaxy far, far away, shouldn't you show us just what's happening within the system and how the democracy is or is not working? It's kind of unclear and gray. That's a problem. As far as storytelling, and again, whether or not you agree, it's made for like kids. If a grown adult has an issue or confusion with the narrative, with the intent, with the motive, what do you think a child is going to do with that?
Would Palpatine's plan have failed? I don't think so, actually. Word would have spread, but slower. I mean, what if you want to sell your goods to the Naboo and you find a blockade? Would you just shut up, accept that you have no income anymore, and go home to your starving children, knowing that the taxes don't go to public health care?
Yeah, this looks like more slights against the U.S. And it's if ever there was a time to talk about Episode 1 and blockades, current news with how much your gas prices are affected by blockades. There's certainly a lot to discuss and cover with Episode 1 and modern day situations, but I don't think using Plinkett, smuggling that narrative in through the Plinkett videos, I don't think that's incredibly fair, considering, again, 2009, this video.
In the commentary for Episode 1, George Lucas explains that every movie in the prequel trilogy is showing Palpatine getting one step closer to being a despot. In Episode 1, the goal is to become a chancellor. So this is what it tries to achieve. Things that you cannot count on happens, so I guess you have to adapt in order to reach the goal. Did Palpatine do that? Obviously. What happens in the story is that the Jedi arriving to Naboo is like a catalyst that makes the events happen faster. Palpatine is an intelligent generalist. Why not seize the opportunity when Queen Amidala came to Coruscant?
Wait, the movie starts with the Jedi arriving. We need to know what the hell they're speeding the process up with. If it's the first thing we see in the movie, there's no speeding up. It's at 0. You can't just be like, oh, now things are really getting kicked into gear. What was getting kicked into gear? It could slow things down. It could stop things. It's the beginning of the movie. There should be some sort of explanation of this world we're discovering. Again, if this is the first movie, there's these 2 dudes in robes. We don't know much. They're talking to robots. They're sitting in a waiting room. We don't know much about Palpatine. He's the hooded figure, but that's something that gets revealed later. I don't think you're understanding the issue with the storytelling in Episode 1. Again, yes, it's the 4th movie in the franchise, and anyone who's anyone, this is the 4th movie they've watched. But let's just say you've been in a coma for 20 years. and you just go to the video store and say, oh, episode 1, this is the beginning. Let me watch this. This movie does an atrocious job of starting things off and telling you, okay, here's the world we're in.
He didn't anticipate for her to go back.
This is an unexpected move for her. It's too aggressive.
And still he was opportunistic enough to carry out his plans. By the way, I find the notion hilarious that the prequels would have an exhaustive depiction of how fascists rise to power. I think it's safe to say that we can read between the lines here. But even if Palpatine acted alone, without the backing of a mob or capitalists, which I doubt, the story focuses on something that will happen to many lost men in societies where fascists reside in one way or another. The grooming of boys into fascism. But that's a story for the future.
I guess the testimony...
Yeah, but like, why use the Plinkett videos as like, it's an interesting topic. It's certainly something that I probably would watch on my own if there was a video like how the Star Wars prequels are a microcosm, a metaphor for, you know, how fascism works and how they influence, how they use young men. I'd be intrigued by that. The premise is interesting at the very least. But again, we're like talking about the Plinkett videos, which is, again, satire. A video series where the character keeps a woman hostage in his basement. So I don't think you're getting like deep thesis statements from Plinkett in any of his reviews. So like what is this saying right now?
If 2 Jedi Knights wasn't good enough. Those were the guys that Valorum trusted enough to settle the whole dispute in the first place?
He sent them like a deal under the table, so to speak. I cannot see that this was official. Maybe being open about it would have him been kicked out of office faster than Donald Duck. Imagine a political leader who breaks the law to do good.
Suspicious.
But
I don't think it's a reference. I don't know what's being done to do good in reference to that other person.
I must give it to Stuklasa that he has a pretty good Darth Sidious imitation.
Tell the Jedi that there will be no negotiations.
So what if she was like a total coward and then actually signed the treaty? Like right away? Then the crisis would be over and there'd be no need for a vote of no confidence.
Well, wasn't that the original plan? I'm not sure why Mr. Plinkett fails to get this. So if Amidala signed the treaty against her will and this came out, wouldn't this create a controversy that sparks the interest of the Senate? You don't think that would be cause enough for a vote of no confidence?
This treaty was signed with a gun to her head? How could this be allowed under Chancellor Valorum? I vote for no confidence.
But other things happened, and I guess Palpatine seized the opportunity. It's really a non-traditional story for a Western society, I dare to say. If you write stories, the most common criticism you most likely will get is that the
protagonist
doesn't have well-defined goals enough.
Who is the protagonist again?
The main characters are mostly reactionary in episode 1, as we discussed in earlier videos, while Palpatine is the one with the goals.
We don't necessarily know who Palpatine is. In all of episode 1? I think episode... it's been a while. I wouldn't have to rewatch it, which I'm not doing right now. I don't think you know that Palpatine is the Emperor in episode 1. They're kind of cheating and knowing that the audience knows who the hooded figure is. I don't remember if we actually get Palpatine as both the senator, champ, whatever the hell he was, and knowing he's the hooded figure. Isn't the last shot like young Anakin next to him and ominous music is playing? This is very convoluted, and I don't think, again, I don't think this is something that would be compared to any of the OG trilogy. Scott says, someone who takes Star Wars too seriously having a conversation with a made-up satirist character from 15 years ago, 17 years ago, and using that conversation to port modern issues. It just like again, the discussion about how the prequels are talking about fascism. It's a hell of an idea. I don't know why you're using Plinkett to get that conversation going, but sure.
Mr. Plinkett then has a list of problems with the gas and why the Nemoidians don't do everything in their power to kill the Jedi. I listened to his flood of ideas, his fan fiction, as I like to call it, and I just think, it doesn't matter. Whatever obstacle the Nemoidians could come up with, the Jedi would have solved them. Except for an army, but where would that fit on this ship? They could have traveled through the air ducts or broken...
Put it in the tea. They'll drink it. Like, again, comedy. So, like, the premier reason for these nitpicks is for the joke. Like, his rat poison thing is, like, that's the joke. That's the headliner of this statement. You could second guess anything and have a reason, because film art is subjective after all.
Out immediately or whatever. But what I think Lucas did is treating episode 1 like the beginning of the story, as I mentioned in earlier video.
That's the first thing we see. What is this world that we're being dropped into? What is this galaxy we're being dropped into? What are these people? What is the Jedi?
Which he of course confirms in the commentary for episode 1. It's the first act in a play.
It's an atrocious, an awful establishment. Again, cheating, saying, oh, you know, the people have already seen this world. They know episodes 4, 5, and 6. Again, if you're treating this like a true episode 1, you're not establishing the universe well at all.
Hey, 1 establishes how the Jedi fight.
By smelling gas?
2 establishes that the droids are controlled by a single source, which is the point, because 3 it depicts that the Nemoidians want control to every price, and 4 introduces R2-D2 in an exciting action scene, because he has been the hero through the whole Skywalker saga.
Yeah, you're porting that episodes 4 through 6 shit. What is R2-D2? Why is there a trash can? And why is that trash can in an exciting scene?
And so on. Furthermore, Lucas explains in the commentary that the scenes must do multiple things at once. 1. Drive the plot. 2. Show the environment. And 3. Explain the characters. He knows this.
What does it explain about the characters? Again, this is the first thing we see of these characters. Don't say we know these characters because episodes 4 through 6. Episode 1. Who's Qui-Gon? Who's Obi-Wan? Why do they have laser swords? What's going on here? Are they just lawyers for this galaxy? Why should I be interested at all in these figures? And why are they drinking tea?
Mr. Plinkett of course acts like Lucas doesn't know. Is this Mr. Plinkett being a creepy guy? Because the point isn't valid. I mean, he doesn't say it outright in this section, but what else is he implying when he rants on about his own fan fiction?
It's a joke. When he talks about rat poison, do we know in the world, in that galaxy, that rats exist? Do we know that rat poison exists in that world? It's a joke. It's a joke first, nothing else.
Personally, I think it would have been more boring to see the Jedi crawling through the vents than to see what they can do with their lightsabers and the
power of the Force.
Don't be pedantic with this. Like, if you're going to take everything he says at face value, you're like, the whole thing has gone over your head. How do you explain the woman trapped in his basement? What does that have to do with anything? I don't understand. Like, if your issue is, oh, people keep quoting this Plinkett review, your first sentence should be, yeah, well, that's the video with the guy who keeps a woman hostage in his basement, right? Okay, I don't recognize that as valid film criticism. Like, if you're going to be pedantic and nitpick every single one of his nitpicks for the sake of a joke, like, of course you're going to find things. Why don't they show him crawling? Well, why not show the world proper How about we don't pick up from them just landing in the ship? How about we find out who these people are first before we go on a trip with them?
When they eventually do go into the ventilation, Lucas doesn't even bother to show them.
Charles, you should know by now this person's unaware of jokes. Like, it's cute that they're bringing their very, very heavy commentary and thesis statements on how Star Wars from 30 years ago is talking about fascism today. Fine, whatever. But Plinkett from 20 years ago was not speaking about fascism today or fascism there. It was a joke video where the character, he mailed off pizza rolls in envelopes. He kept people hostage in his basement, and there's a couple of bones in his basement. Like all of the thing where he quizzes all of his friends on what is interesting about the characters of Phantom Menace, which there's that Daily Show shit where, yes, it's comedy first, but there's something of a point there. I don't know how you could watch that and be like, oh yeah, this is objective. This is objective film criticism here.
And I don't know. I think that if Lucas had used carbon monoxide, Mr. Plinkett would have never understood what happened. Lucas is a visual storyteller. I bet he chose to have a visible gas for the sake of the audience.
Yes, but the smoke is one thing. Listen, if this is your main concern with episode 1, you really had a good time with this movie. Like, if the fact that Obi-Wan saw smoke and smelled the gas is that's the reason this movie doesn't work for you, it's a fantastic movie as far as you're concerned. But it's a nitpick for the sake of a joke. It's contrived. The fucking the rat poison thing is that's the headliner of this.
And for not risking the Jedi vomiting all over the scene.
And now we're getting into...
Nothing informs me that the Jedi would have failed to detect the gas anyways. They can...
All right. What do we know about the Jedi and their skill to handle poison? Even, if you want to count episodes 4 through 6, 1 through 3, 7 through 9, what do we know about the Jedi and their ability to smell out poison? What of the entire... I haven't watched any of the cartoons or read any of the books, but what in the entire canon of Star Wars have we dealt with Jedi being able to handle poison?
Sense other life forms, you know? I mean, that is what the Force is, right?
I thought it's midi-chlorians.
Penetrates
you. What if they sense small vermin die in the walls?
Hey, wait. How does Qui-Gon know what kind of gas it is before he smells it?
I actually have no good answer. I think this is a valid point.
Later in the film, we see they need to use them breathing things underwater for that short swim to the Gunga Sea world. So anyways, it's like the Jedi know that the droids are going to open up the door in a very short time before they run out of breath, because they don't immediately start trying to cut their way out.
We don't know if they used those breathing things, but I do agree that it would have been more sleek if Lucas had shown them here too.
Hey asshole, how about you leave the door closed for like 4 hours?
They might have. I mean, they have even posted droids by the door. I'm not sure what Lucas tried to convey here, so I'll give it...
I see, already that's a valid point. I don't know what Lucas is thinking here. This is stellar defense. Stellar defense. Troy says, lazy writing, everyone knows you put the little flapping streamers on the vent to convey the gas. That is a pretty good point. Yeah, the fucking things that show you that anytime you go to electronics store and they show you the air conditioners, they have those like streamers that let you know, ooh, wind is blowing. Shit, it's a comedy bit, but that's a very good point. Only an expanded universe, but that's all non-canon now. See, well, all right, makes a valid point. So, anyways, yep.
To Mr. Plinkett. But putting rat poison in the tea before the traitors get the order to kill the Jedi from Palpatine? They don't hit me like enterprising people.
For fuck's sake, how do you drive over the joke? The fucking joke is, why would you drink tea from people you don't recognize? You could make a joke about if they were children, you pull up in a van, and you know how children are with candy. It's just a joke about like how you could trick them. It's just a joke.
They do what they are commanded. What if they killed a Jedi and Palpatine told them that everything was ruined now because they would have a diplomatic crisis with the Jedi Order too?
Yeah, and what if we stabbed Palpatine 10 minutes into the movie? Then there's no franchise then. Wow. We solved it, everyone.
Then we would have no movie.
Yep.
After some jokes about murdering women, he points out that killing Jedi
just calmly goes over the comedy bits of the damn thing.
should be some sort of crime, and therefore the Nemoidians shouldn't want to do that. I mean, maybe, but they are also backed by the Sith.
Put it in the tea. They'll drink it. Like, if this ends up talking about fascism again.
Maybe that makes them feel daring. I guess the thing about murdering women is Mr. Plinkett being a creepy guy, but the rest doesn't sound like a valid point. Is it him being a creepy guy too? But maybe, just maybe, Palpatine wants the Nemoidians to break the law, so that he can use the turmoil to further himself politically. Maybe.
But when you're talking about a huge organization that's run with military efficiency, then they're probably going to want something in return for the use of 30 of their ships and risking everything. Darth Sidious can't really promise them future political favors because it would give away who he is.
This could actually be a valid point, if you don't analyze the movie and just react to it. Like in, a real review. At the time.
But again, if you think of YouTube movie content in the year 2009, there weren't like reviewers the way they are now. Again, someone like Chris Stuckman did not really exist yet. So there wasn't a thing as like online film criticism. There's stuff like Channel Awesome, which was its own, is its own version of art in itself, and this too is its own version of art. Like, again, if you're grading this on film criticism, how do you explain the woman trapped in the basement? What does that have to do with the story? Like, you can't just be like, this argument here sucks, but not look at the satire of the thing either. Like, you've got to grade the whole thing as its own piece of art, and not be like, oh, as far as objective criticism is concerned, this is kind of bullshit because that's not actually how rat poison works.
Time of writing, my government is experiencing a security crisis, and when reading about it, I stumbled upon a lobbyist company that wants to bring about practical political change on behalf of their clients. That sounds like a Sith threat to me, because who do you think the clients are? Poor people? Or are they companies and organizations such as federations? Organizations and actors like these bastards.
If you're going to talk about modern politics and corporations in fascism and corporations swaying politics, I would recommend rewatching The Last Jedi, because it's a bit more straightforward in that movie, and there's a very concise line about sometimes the good guys are the bad guys and vice versa, and the money is going everywhere. So as much as people want to shit on The Last Jedi, if the main thing you're going to Star Wars for is like fascism and commentary on modern politics, give Last Jedi another swing.
Of course, try to bring about practical political change for their own narrow gain all the time, at least within capitalistic and neoliberal societies. There is nothing that says that the Sith isn't putting that facade up.
Who are the Sith? In episode 1, what the fuck is a Sith? What do we know about the Sith? We don't have any sort of establishment of either the Jedi or the Sith. What we know about the Jedi in episode 1 is, it's a room where a bunch of alien people sit in a circle and say yes and no to things. And the Sith, we don't know anything about the Sith.
I get where the Mr. Plinkett character comes from, but I also don't get this need to have every single detail spilled out for you. So what...
like in a real review. You just said the thing but didn't comprehend it, almost like it's a joke review. It's very frustrating.
Practical political change could the Sith possibly have promised the Trade Federation for doing this? How about no need to pay taxes? You know, the startling incident for episode 1. You cannot think about any capitalist in this world that does everything to avoid paying taxes. Oh, but it's the homeless that is the problem.
What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Again, you really want to rewatch The Last Jedi? You want to talk about underpaid people and child labor? Last Jedi, there's plenty of what you're talking about in a movie that's far more modern than this and does it a bit more bluntly and to the point. Like all of this talking about something that was 30 years in the past, it's just, I'm sorry, it's not tracking.
Shit, I went political again. In a Star Wars video, the grifters will come for me. No, I'm kidding. I am officially a breadtuber now. Because if you talk about Star Wars and for some reason misunderstand the Skywalker saga for being political, you are one. But on a serious note.
Hey my lovelies, isn't this what you get if you make a Star Wars movie? Who tries to break society down for their own gain and lust for power? The leftists? Nah, they are just reactionary, stuck in a system.
Leftists are reactionary? Okay. Yeah, you know, when people talk about how great the OG trilogy is, they're always talking about, oh man, I love the politics of Empire Strikes Back. I really love the politics of The Return of the Jedi. I love the politics of Episode 4. That's not... There's a reason people rebelled against... I rebelled. There's a reason people were turned off by the prequels. And it's not, oh, they don't like Darth Maul. It was too fucking boring and convoluted.
So when the fascists eventually do take over, what else can the opposition do than to rebel? That's why I think it's a travesty that we didn't get to see Lucas's take on how to rebuild a society after fascism destroyed it.
Didn't he do that? That's kind of what the OG trilogy is. The OG trilogy is rebellion against fascism, otherwise known as the Empire.
They've gone up the ventilation shaft.
Dude, I don't know how much of the Plinkett video has actually been discussed here, because I know for a fact Plinkett doesn't talk about fucking fascism in his video. So, like, we're like smuggling in a bunch of our own shit from modern day society, which, again, if you were talking about the sequel trilogy, even that still might be a little outdated, but bringing it in, like, by proxy on a Plinkett video while talking about a movie from 1999, you're not really talking about the Plinkett video so much as you're just talking about modern day politics with the backdrop of Plinkett via Star Wars?
You know that.
I don't know. This takes place in a galaxy far, far away a long time ago. I guess they have surveillance.
Why don't the Jedis just start fighting all of them?
Because the Jedi aren't immortal. We only see them destroy small companies of droids, never whole invasion armies. It's not even possible for hundreds of Jedi to defeat an army.
But instead, Qui-Gon in all his wisdom thinks it's a better idea to go down with the army to, quote, warn the Naboo. Hey genius, if you're going down with the army, don't you think it's a little too late to warn them about the army?
I guess this is a valid point in that...
You guess! You can't warn someone of the thing if you arrive with them.
The Jedi fail, but on the other hand, what should they do? Sit around on the Federation ship? They have no escape ship. So step 1, get off the ship.
Or you could distract them on the ship so that the people that are in the ship never get to the planet in the first place. You could try blowing up the ship. It's not as black and white as that.
While you are down there, what to do? Remember that they are only 2 Jedi with no means of communication. What would be the next logical step in that situation? Sit on your scrotum and watch the invasion? Wouldn't you want to do everything in your power to save as many as possible? Or I guess they are only people. Who cares, right? Wrong culture, wrong religion, whatever the cause can be to demonize people.
So the droid army just rolls in, unchallenged, as expected. What the fuck are the Naboo gonna do anyways? They don't even have a real army.
So this sucks. Not only is this something that the film clearly depicts, it's also one of the themes of the movie. You know, the Naboo thinking they are too bombard to contact the Gungans that are called primitive throughout the movie. Building that alliance is essential for the plot. Then he complains about the small nitpick about what splitting up would accomplish.
Number 1. Increase the chances of getting caught by 100%. 2. Have no one else to help you if you get caught and get into a fight with robots. 3. Increase the possibility of getting separated by hundreds, if not thousands of miles by not knowing where the other craft is going to land on the planet.
Sure, it's possible that the army split up and one fraction went down into a swamp and the other to the capital and the third up a tree, but I don't think that's a very effective way to take over a capital. Just saying. But what?
But then why was there landings in the swamp and landings in the capital? Because the ships did separate. So, what? What are you saying?
Do I know? I'm not a crazy military man. But the plan is to warn the Naboo, right? So if one of them is captured or killed, the other one might be able to deliver the warning, right? Didn't they also, in the same time, increase the chances of getting the message through by 100%? Now, actions are revealing to...
If they're together, they will get caught together. What?
Who the character is. And here we have them. The Jedi are brave enough to risk everything to save as many as possible. How did Mr. Plinkett miss this? How did Stuklasa miss this? Isn't he
observational?
Yet, he went on in part 1 about Qui-Gon not having a character. I also guess it's easier to hide in a ship not made for humans if you split up, but what do I know? I'm not a cartoon murderer. Mr. Plinkett being 100% correct, my scrotum. Then Stuklasa complains about the Jedi going with Jar Jar Binks instead, wondering...
What was your plan from the beginning when you got down there? Hey Ginny, I thought you went down there to warn the Naboo. This is also the point when the movie starts to officially fall apart. This is the moment when the Star Wars saga is now damaged totally beyond repair. The lapses in common sense and logic begin to compound on the movie, and now it is broken.
Hasn't that moment happened for every Star Wars movie since the 80s? I don't know. I get to hear this so much about every Star Wars movie. Now there's no edge to it. Didn't they say this for episode 5?
The Empire Strikes Back. One of the greatest films ever made.
And what a pathetic argument.
Episode 1. This is our introduction to the universe.
It has been so easy so far to point to almost all the Mr. Plinkett points just being wrong.
You haven't done it, though. You have not done it. You've just been like, oh, modern day politics. Here's a picture of Pete Hegseth because, you know, that was relevant in 2009.
Why is this movie broken? Because Qui-Gon knew what gas it was? Because other movies do stories in other ways than the Star Wars movies?
Yes.
Or that the Jedi failed to warn the Naboo? But the latter is just characters failing according to what the author intended. I don't know, how could that break a movie? Or is it broken because Mr. Plinkett is a creepy guy when it comes to camera angles and taxes, politics, Jedi and basic storytelling? He has no good...
Whoa.
Because Qui-Gon knew what gas it was? Because other movies do stories in other ways than the Star Wars movies? Or that the Jedi failed to warn the Naboo? But the latter is just characters failing according to what the author intended. I don't know, how could that break a movie? Or is it broken because Mr. Plinkett is a creepy guy when it comes to camera angles and taxes, politics, Jedi and basic storytelling?
Camera angles, politics, and basic storytelling. Well, I'll forget the politics. Camera angles and basic storytelling. What do you want a movie reviewer to talk about? Okay, so we're going to not talk about camera angles. We're not going to not talk about basic storytelling. What do you want? You want something that's audio only and the story is disheveled? So you just want to listen to any old podcast, and that is cinema to you. Like, I don't understand how this person can contradict themselves in like the same video. How do you want him to be a real reviewer, but just totally gloss over the fact that he's talking about cinematography and basic storytelling? But nope, you got to get your Donald Trump jokes in, so never mind any of that.
He has no good arguments for why he thinks it's broken.
Are you fucking shitting me? Just let the video play.
Other than he didn't pay attention. So
that's a joke.
I will put as much effort as him into saying that the movie isn't broken. Maybe he means that for every new movie, there is new information that changes how he perceives episode 4, that he speaks so...
No. This is episode 1. This movie's supposed to introduce, at the very least, the movie's supposed to introduce you to the story of this movie. Forget the fact that, there's a trilogy that existed before it, which technically exists after it. This is the introduction to this universe. Again, if you're in a coma or whatever, and this is your first experience, you say, oh, Star Wars, I've heard a lot about that. Let me start with episode 1. What is your introduction to this universe? But, oh, no. In episode 4, this thing happened. No, that's not the way numbers work.
Dearly about, and I guess he doesn't want this flawed view he has to change.
Because I don't like things that are different.
But you can't stop the change.
I cannot stress this enough, but Lucas isn't silent about his way of creating. In the commentary for episode 1, he talks about themes like it was music, calling it visual jazz. You take the same idea, but do it in different ways every time, with different interpretations. In music, I guess this would be called leitmotifs. A great example of this is...
Yeah, a leitmotif is a theme song for a person or an event.
Howard Shaw's music for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, where different characters, cultures and entities have their own music cue.
Yeah, the Imperial March is a leitmotif for Darth Vader.
But they change during the course of the story, growing with the characters and the events, and even getting intertwined, sometimes even...
How the fuck can you just not give a shit about cinematography, but now we're talking about leitmotif? Are you fucking kidding?
In the way that one leitmotif is played with the instruments from another. I suspect that the visual jazz inspired Lucas to go on making new episodes.
Wait, visual jazz? What's a visual leitmotif?
Building on imagery and concepts that he already had presented earlier. I mean, there must be something that makes an artist motivated to go on with their work, right? The movies are filled with cyclical motifs, or leitmotifs, that
you're using leitmotif incorrectly.
Repeat themselves, but also are altered, developed, changed. Anakin and Luke are exposed to similar challenges. Dialogue is reused, but for different characters. Introducing Palpatine as a hologram is fitting, because that's how he was introduced in the original trilogy too, and so on.
That's not leitmotif!
Okay, the bad feeling quote is an easy one, but only in this simple example we clearly see how the same line is used by different characters in different situations, meaning different things. He's done this since THX 1138. He did this already in the original trilogy, so I don't get why the prequels are the problem. This has been the Star Wars thing.
Nightmares and Nerdscape says a wrestling entrance, that's a visual leitmotif. Spelled wrong. To clarify, in this instance, it's Leitmotif. It sounds like leitmotif, but it's pronounced a little bit different. That's literally the only medium I can think of the idea would work. Leitmotif, as far as movies are concerned, is like Darth Vader, the Imperial March, the dun 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 dun. That, like, when you see Darth Vader, that song accompanies him. That is a leitmotif. The visual of the Emperor in the blue whatever, that there's not an audio cue that follows that. That's not the way that works. Listen, man, I don't do words. And you can blame your fellow members and patrons.
Since before the beloved episode 5.
The Empire Strikes Back. One of the greatest films ever made.
Yeah.
You know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, that and, what? Is it the third highest ranked movie on IMDb? It's a lot of people's opinion.
I am very interested in Stoklasa's take on episode 5.
I think.
I wonder what he got wrong about it too. He will complain about Anakin Skywalker being the center of the Skywalker saga for his episode 3 video, but didn't the problem start already with releasing episode 5? Now you had to go back and rewatch episode 4 again.
We're fucking talking about episode 5, and now it seems like episode 4 when talking about the Phantom Menace. What is going on here? I don't recall Plinkett being a video where he talks about the OG trilogy, and the issues with the OG trilogy are part of the issues with the prequel trilogy. Like, this is such pettifogging.
To see everything in a new light. And the revelation that Leia and Luke are siblings in episode 6? Man, now you have to watch 2 movies to see them in a new light.
If a movie were good, you wouldn't need to do homework. The movie should tell its own story in its own little story. Episode 1 especially should introduce you to the world. There should be like Easter eggs where if you watch something like, oh, that's cool. That's a little, I don't know, tribute for the people that know. But the story should stand on its own. And again, the first movie, it's technically the first movie. You should introduce the world, the characters, establish the characters. But like here, we're talking about episode 5, and you have to go back and watch episode 5 to appreciate episode 1. That's insane.
Right. And the servant turning out to be Padme? Oh snap! Now you have to watch episode 1 one more time.
You have to see the film 2 or 3 times.
But isn't that also one of the joys with rewatching Lord of the Rings? To revisit the leitmotifs and see where they originate and ponder over
what the fuck? I don't know. The leitmotifs, you're talking about like audio cues. What do the leitmotifs have to do with Lord of the Rings? Like, what's happening here?
Where they will end up. This is why I think it's a travesty that we will never see Lucas's ideas for the sequels, because how would they change how we watch the first 6 episodes in the Skywalker saga?
I don't know. Again, if you don't know anything about anything and you just, happen to know what math is, shouldn't you start with 1?
I guess I am on a totally different level than Mr. Plinkett and his ilk, where I find it fun to have my previous notions challenged by the art I engage with. What would Lucas's episode 9 have made me reconsider about episode 6? Or episode 1? But all we got from the Disney schlock was what someone ate for dinner and then threw up on a canvas. It's barely more than that. There's nothing to it, only regurgitated imagery. I already made that joke in the last video, so you get my point.
Yeah, no, don't try to rewatch episode 8 again, because that doesn't challenge anything about the previous 7 movies. Like, you're being incredibly unfair. I would recommend watching The Last Jedi again if you want to look at your precious movies that you looked at in a different light earlier than that. Because like that's a complete unfair way to talk about The Last Jedi at the very least. I don't know much about the other 2 in the sequels, but that's just that's not true.
I know, it sounds harsh, but he's become rich fooling people, so I think he can fend for himself. Because he is no storyteller. The mystery box is engaging at the moment, but it fails to be that in the long term. There's no substance to it. It's a total misunderstanding of what makes good stories interesting. You need more than a mystery.
What was the fucking topic that we're talking about right now? We started talking about leitmotif, and now we're talking about J.J. Abrams and whatever the fuck it is he did to the sequels. Again, sequels did not exist in 2009. I don't know how much talking there was about leitmotifs in the Plinkett reviews. So what is happening right now?
To catch people.
like Star Wars, you got the droids, they meet the mysterious woman. Who's that? We don't know. Mystery box. You know?
Shut up!
Yeah, but we learn who she is pretty
Like, these are jokes. Like, that's an attempt at a joke, and it just doesn't, like, that getting the J.J. Abrams thing, talking about Star Wars and leading in it, and using the shut up line from Leia, that is contrived. That is sticking something in here for the sake of that joke, to get the shut up line where it's, hey, it's Princess Leia, and she's actually a member of the Star Wars franchise, saying something to someone who's talking about Star Wars and happens to have made a Star Wars movie, and we all fucking hate it. So isn't this funny? But what does that have to do with either Plinkett or episode 1? It's contrived for the sake of a joke. If you're going to do it yourself, you should probably learn to appreciate that from someone else who's doing the same exact thing.
fast, and we still find the story interesting. I was irritated with Paul and Mikael wanting to murder crime authors in my first video, but I do agree with them that crime novels are so boring. I don't care about the mystery. I get that people want simple entertainment every now and then. I mean, Disney has succeeded in cramming out uninteresting remake after uninteresting remake, and people still gobble it up. But when it comes to Star Wars, only a mystery isn't enough. Heck, it's more about family intrigues on an epic level than mysteries. And as we discussed in the last video, not hiding the mystery who the Sith is makes for an engaging story. When it comes to the Disney fanfic sequels, you cannot watch any of them and try to repurpose what came earlier or try to understand them, building on earlier episodes.
It's almost like they're trying to do their own thing.
If you hand a story off, you have to respect the source material, or I personally will not consider that canon.
Yeah,
it's like this is essentially like ugly fan fiction.
There is no visual jazz here, other than maybe accidentally, by osmosis, since people have a vague feeling about what Star Wars is.
Visual jazz, like you talked about leitmotifs, and now you're saying visual jazz. As far as visuals are concerned, if you're trying to say that the sequels aren't visually stimulating in comparison to the prequels, I really think you need to look at pictures again.
I cannot speak for being an expert on what Star Wars is.
So what the fuck are you doing then?
But if there is an expert on Star Wars, it should reasonably be the creator of Star Wars.
Who sold it. And Disney is the owner of it now, so what the fuck is the point about talking about the sequels when George Lucas said, $4 billion, please. Okay, see you later.
You know, the man that is the brain behind all 6 movies in the Skywalker saga, whether he directed them or not. But I digress. But
only a little.
I could end this review here.
I wish you did.
Oh, Plinkett. I forgot we were talking about Plinkett.
Buddy, because this is like listening to a MAGA Lumaniac Buster.
Do it.
What? Did he say MAGA? Is that what he said?
But I digress. But
only a little.
I could end this review here.
I wish you did, buddy, because this is like listening to a MAGA Lumaniac Buster.
Oh, megalomaniac. Okay.
Do it.
Hey, I love the racist jokes in this. Really informs me what kind of audience Tuklasa is catering to.
What? What?
I guess this is the creepy opinions part of Mr.
Oh, he was doing a funny little thing saying MAGA Lemaniac.
Plinkett. On the other hand, this is what some people would consider a valid point, wouldn't you say? I just want to share some...
Can we know what you're talking about? How about you show the thing that you're referencing and countering that, as far as this video is concerned, we have no idea what it is you're referencing.
Things that George Lucas tells us in the commentary for episode 1. I highly recommend you to listen to it because there's so much information there. I don't think you need to know about it to appreciate the movie, but you get a better understanding of it and can penetrate deeper to appreciate it, and maybe other stories more.
That's what he said.
Hey!
Shut up!
In this scene, Lucas wanted to turn the cliché about the monster coming through the door. For us, the Jedi aren't monsters, but they are for the Nemoidians. His aim was also to create a Naboo culture feeling timeless, but with influences from the Roman Empire. Guess why? Their culture isn't based on technology, but on beauty. I will return to this in future videos. And also, Lucas admits that he isn't averse to using cheap tricks like having scary creatures in the water. He thinks it's fun, and we will see later that the crew loved working with these scenes. Oops, spoiler warning. By the way, I don't make these videos to defend Lucas. He isn't a helpless billionaire. Does that make his movies fair game for lies and myths?
Yes.
I don't think...
Lies and myths? I don't know. What does satire count as?
I think so.
Cheers, Sean. Appreciate it. 99p euro?
My videos won't make the prequels good if you hate them. And if you hate them, just admit it. You don't have to elaborate on why. Just don't lie about it.
Yeah, I don't know if judging... have we judged the Plinkett videos here? Because there's a whole lot of other shit that has nothing to do with whatever the hell. Like, it makes me want to rewatch the Plinkett videos to see just how much is being left out and what we're talking about. Because lies, that's a very strong word to use when you're talking about satire. I don't think the Plinkett videos, when you're talking about a cartoon character who sends pizza rolls in the mail, I don't think they're trying to get you to think that this is an objective film criticism here. At no point do they say something like, this is a true story.
Don't make things up or refer to people who are making things up. It just makes you look silly, and I don't want that.
Yeah, so there's a little tell there. He said, refer to people who make things up. So this, I would hazard a guess that this isn't so much an argument, a counterclaim against Plinkett so much as a counterclaim against people that quote Plinkett and use the Plinkett video as some sort of starting off point in their issues with the prequels.
These guys are pioneers in a way. They are funny. They know stuff.
How do you know they're funny without understanding what the hell's happening in the Plinkett videos? How do you know they're funny?
That they missed the mark so much about Star Wars is baffling to me, but I use that as a springboard to talk about story.
You know, it's funny. Without the Plinkett videos, this shit doesn't happen.
Storytelling and art, and other stuff, as you've noticed. Imagine saying so much and still saying so little.
Imagine!
I can hardly call the third Mr. Plinkett video a review. There is no examination of the movie. It's only all these misunderstandings. Just because there's a lot of word vomiting in stanzas.
Wait, what did he just say?
I cannot understand just... Is this satire? Because it's quite ironic. It's almost so to the point with its irony.
It doesn't mean there's substance to it. But it seems like people nowadays think that a review is a mere reaction. I don't get how you can mix two different words up as synonyms, especially when one of them is just watching and reacting in the moment, and the other demands that you dig deep, peel off, research, think, examine, ponder, draw conclusions.
That's criticism. A review is just... film criticism and film review are a little different. YouTube has a ton of movie reviewers, doesn't have very many critics.
The Mr. Plinkett videos aren't reviews because they don't do that, and they are filled with so many errors. I would say that they are closer to reactions than reviews. If you are happy with that, that is fine, but then you also have to be aware that what you agree to has no substance, carries no water, and mostly is incorrect. Anyways, what do you think? Let me know in the commentary section. I try to read and respond to all of your comments. Please give my video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss the next part, and if you have disposable income, please consider joining my Patreon. I release my videos 3 days before I publish them on YouTube for the top tier on my Patreon. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.
Shut up!
Part 3.
All right. Well, yeah, it's part 3. It's comical that he'll say that there's just a bunch of word salad, and half of that video was him talking about either the original trilogy, modern day politics, or a jab or two at the sequels, and not much room for the actual Plinkett video to breathe. I don't know how much of the genuine Plinkett video we had in that, because they were 10 minutes. The OG or the Plinkett videos there were 7 of them. I think they were 10 minutes long. So that video we just watched was 20 something minutes. I don't know if we had all of the Plinkett video. Like, we didn't hear the explanation or the joke, should I say, about the rat poison. Just a bunch of arguments against some of the things that we didn't get to see. I don't know how much of the Plinkett video we actually saw. We got a hell of a lot. Like, listen, if you want to talk about Star Wars and how you think it is interesting, how it could be looked at from the lens of modern day fascism and what that does to neo-lib countries, and how easily that stuff gets through. There's something to be said for that, but using the Plinkett videos to get that messaging out, it just does not make sense, because I don't think there's an ounce of politics in the Plinkett stuff. If anything, there's plenty of comedy, and to not play that the right way is, I don't know. Like, it just seems like calling that content or satire lying is like, you're just not being good faith with a piece of satire. Yeah, Troy, I was thinking the same thing. The ending seemed like a good summary of his own video. Like, yeah, like he's saying words that describe what he just did. So, I don't know, is this some sort of Tony Clifton thing? What if Red Letter Media are actually doing this video and trying to get me pissed off? I would hope it's someone who's trying to get a rise out of people and not like their genuine take while putting jokes in their video and little bits, but not realizing that the half of the Plinkett content is itself jokes and bits. It's rather concerning. And again, we had this last year or 2 years ago, where the guy who was talking about dating advice and like took it seriously and started going off on what you should tell girls, which that was alarming. I don't know if people who are, I don't know, bothered by criticisms against the prequels. It seems like there's multiple people now that have issues with criticism against the prequels and are using the Plinkett videos as like their main target. And I don't know, like, if you don't like that people don't like it, like, that's fine. But if you can't recognize and can't acknowledge the fact that there's some truth to it, but it's comedy first, it's satire first, like that's a you thing. You could hate the Plinkett videos, you could disagree with what he has to say, but art is subjective. I know there's a lot of people that don't like hearing that when they talk about film criticism. It needs to be objective, but the Plinkett stuff is its own. It's its own piece of art. It's satire. It's its own work of fiction, and to not understand that yet, like, go after it for being dishonest is like just missing the point entirely. Yeah. So that video, thank you for pointing it out to me, was a few weeks old now. I don't know if he's going to keep going through 7. I don't know if I could keep up. Like, if he's going to just keep talking about shit that has nothing to do with the videos, like, I'm not interested in talking about modern day fascism on a Plinkett video, because that's just not what happened there. We'll see how it goes, but I'm not very encouraged with this person's counterpoints to the Plinkett stuff. But check back. We'll probably see the next one at the very least. And I don't know, someone else will come forward and make YouTube content and talk about what their issues with the Plinkett videos are. And I'm sure one of you will suggest it to me. So if you have suggestions for me to react to, comment down below. Please consider joining my Patreon or be a channel member and have access to stuff early. Brian and I had a very interesting discussion that is like podcast format. That will premiere later on today. But if you're a channel member, you could see that now. Very interesting conversation. Speaking of fascism and the right wing, Brian and I had a very interesting discussion, and you may not know where it goes. So be on the lookout for that, or members and patrons, you have access to that now. Let me know what to cover in the future. And I've been Charles. You haven't. Click like, subscribe. Bye.